Hey everyone, we'll be doing something a little different for this Friday stream. It's going to be another gaming and Q&A stream, so bear with us as we do that. We might do some production things afterwards if folks are interested, but for now I found this kind of goofy little game that I think would be a good one to play while answering questions. So if you guys do have questions, let me know, and we can look into those. But for now, we're going to be playing Fight Crab. It's super ridiculous, but I've been having a lot of fun with it lately. So yeah, that's what we're gonna be playing today. Audeze Penrose is available, yes. The PlayStation 1 has been shipping for a few weeks. We're currently sold out of them from our warehouse direct, so if you want a pair, we have many that have gone out to retailers. Check with them. If you're looking for an Audeze Penrose X, you're going to want to just wait a few days. We had some delays in shipping, but we will be shipping, as far as I know, we should be shipping out next week, so that you guys get them before Christmas. We're going to be using priority shipping for that to make sure that they get there as fast as possible. Again, that was a delay in getting those units to us for some final work that we had to have done. So the newsletter has all the very specific information, and also I included some of that in our social posts today about exactly what's going out and when. We don't have, super down to the minute. I can't tell you that it's going to show up at your door at 10 o'clock in the morning on the 17th, but definitely sign up for the newsletter if you want the most up-to-date information on when those units are going to ship out. Yeah, absolutely. Like we said in previous streams, we are really trying to get these units out to you guys. We're working very hard to do that. We're not trying to keep you from having your Penrose. We're trying to get them out to you as fast as we can. We're trying to get you out, especially Penrose X, people who ordered Penrose X. We're going to try and get those out to you before Christmas. Like I said, we're using priority shipping methods and paying extra to do that, so that you guys get those as fast as possible. It's been a day or two since I played this game, so let's see if I even remember how to play.
Fight! Go!
Oh, and for anybody who might be wondering today, I am using the Audeze LCD 4Zs through an SPL Phonitor X headphone amp. Just because I know some people are curious about what I use on stream. Probably should be using Penrose, not. But if you have any Penrose questions, please let me know, and I'll do my best to answer them. Also, if you have any questions about other Audeze headphones or other news or things like that, definitely post them in the chat, and I'll do my best to answer them as best as I can. Oh no. For those of you who haven't seen either, we also have a promotion with Vinyl Me Please, where we're offering some discounts if you sign up for the Audeze newsletter. So that is something to check out as well. Are the Penrose PC available now or out of stock? The PlayStation ones at the moment are out of stock from us. So if you're ordering direct from Audeze, then we don't have any at the moment. We're working on getting more, but obviously there have been, you know, due to Corona and things like that, shipping delays. However, a lot of people who are distributors for us have PlayStation Penrose in stock. So you might check with some of our retailers, distributors, especially if you're in another country, to see if they have stock of Penrose PlayStation units. Let's add mix control. Thank you, by the way, Marion M. We're glad you're enjoying them. Any plans to add mix control between Bluetooth and wireless on Penrose paired to an iPhone or PlayStation 5? Mix controls, Bluetooth and wireless. Do you mean mix controls between like game chat and voice? If so, I think there's some amount of that's difficult to do because the both iOS and game audio. So it's something we'll look into, but I think, for the moment, I think the answer is no. Again, I'll check with the team and see if I can get a better answer for you guys on that. In terms of an upgrade for the iSign 20, personally, I have a pair of i4s, and I also really like the i3s as well. So you might check out those and see if they're to your taste. They kind of do a similar thing. The mix control between Discord and iOS and game audio. You should be able to control your game. You should be able to control your audio directly from Discord, so you shouldn't need it for PlayStation if you're having iOS and you're using Discord through iOS. Okay. I'm not sure about that. Let me ask about that, and I'll see if I can get you an answer on that. At the moment, as I understand it, you have to switch between Bluetooth and the wired mode manually, and you can't necessarily listen to both at the same time. How does Penrose handle game surround like 7.1? So 7.1 and all other surround formats will actually be releasing a video about this, but anything like that is done by either the game or by the console. So if you're using PlayStation and it has Tempest audio, or your like Dolby, anything like that, is all going to be done by the console or by the game. It's not going to be done by the headset. So any headset will work for that setup. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, the Audeze Instagram is just Instagram. I think it's at Audeze, or maybe at Audeze Official. At Audeze Official, actually, is the one. My personal Instagram is at grover.neville, if you want to hear, my voice more. Your Penrose arrived today. Awesome. We're really glad to hear that, Fuzzy, and I hope you enjoy them. Let us know if you like them, and if we can ever help you, shoot us an email, support@audeze.com. Yeah, we hope you enjoy them. I do also sometimes stream and do videos on my personal channel, so and I've done some voice acting in the past, so not a stranger to that. On the app for Android, Not as far as I know at the moment. I believe that there is an Android app. Let me see. Yeah, so the next app that we're working on after the current one, which just pushed out, which actually, by the way, there is a current firmware update available. So if you haven't gotten that one for your Penrose yet, that fixes the whooshing noise that some people were having issues with. It should also fix some of the microphone muffled noise on wireless mode, as well as some other bug fixes and quality of life improvements. Excuse me. So that just pushed out recently this week, but we should have the Android app coming up next. That's the next one that's in the development cycle, as far as I understand it.
You win. Ready. Go.
Yes, yeah. So if you go to here, I'll drop it in the chat in just a second. Let me get the link for you. Audeze HQ. Here it is. Yeah. So if you're on Windows, there, that should be the Audeze HQ link. You want my personal Instagram handle? Okay, it's there we go. That's my personal Instagram handle. If you want to hear more of my dulcet tones and watch me stream ridiculous games. Penrose X said, can you try? Yeah, hopefully, like I said, Penrose X. I don't know if you're here, peanut butter and jelly time, but at the beginning of the stream, I mentioned that the Penrose X units should be, hopefully, fingers crossed, shipping out next week via FedEx Priority. That was the fastest shipping mode shipping method that we could find. And there was just a delay this week with UPS getting them to our factory for finishing, packaging, and all that kind of stuff. So they should be, again, as far as I know, shipping out this this coming week. Yeah, thank you, Marion. I appreciate it. It's very kind of you. If anyone else has any questions, again, please feel free to ask me. I'll do my best to answer them. And oh, I fell off the edge. Oopsies.
You lose.
I don't know why it does that every time I click on something. Hold on. Sorry, hold on 1 second. Just catching up to make sure I'm all caught up on chat. There we go. Okay. There we go. Okay. Let's see. We should probably level up our crab because I feel like we're fairly weak. Let's see. Hand axe, yes, that's the one we want. Perfect. Okay, and we've just unlocked the crab Kamehameha. Excellent.
Ready.
Yeah, this game is absolutely silly. Oops. So as I was mentioning before, for those of you who have not previously seen it, we have just announced a partnership with Vinyl Way Please, which is a vinyl subscription service, and they send you, I believe it's a vinyl a month for your subscription, and we've got a small discount available if you sign up for the Audeze newsletter. Now, they are very cool, especially if you're into kind of audiophile-oriented vinyl, because they do a really good job of cutting their vinyl. I believe they use Sterling Sound Nashville, and there's a cutting engineer, mastering engineer there named Ryan, who's incredibly talented, very, very good at his job, cuts great vinyl. So they are definitely, fun to get vinyl if you want to get vinyl, but also a great choice if you're someone who appreciates high-quality vinyl as well. Does Audeze i4 sound better than the LCD-X and LCD3? I mean, everything is obviously a bit subjective. I personally really like the sound of the i4 with the cipher cable, the lightning cable, and the EQ settings. I also find that although it doesn't necessarily have, some of the dynamics of the larger headphones. Just in the sense that it's not over ear and it doesn't have that, that big sound to it. I really like the frequency response. I find that the sense of imaging is very holographic, and they do something in a way that I haven't heard many headphones do before. So I really like the i3s. I personally would take them over the LCD 3s if it was just for casual listening. For professional mixing, the LCD-X is pretty hard to beat, but sometimes if somebody's sending me something that I have to just listen to really quick on my phone, I find the i4 is extremely useful for that. I'm falling off the table here. Recent update made a huge improvement. Well, awesome. I'm glad to hear that. We really are trying our best to make this a product that, you guys are happy to own and that works well for you. We'll continue updating it, adding new features, fixing bugs, and addressing the requests that people have. So please continue to, give us feedback. So personally, I really like the i4. I wouldn't trade it for an LCD3. That's just my personal take. I'm sure some people think that's crazy. but it's I would say one of the headphones that I use. I've got a lot of Audeze headphones lying around my room at the moment, obviously, but I would say the i4 is one of the ones that gets the most head time from me, for sure. So yeah, I would say you really can't go wrong with it. I also appreciate that it is smaller. I mean, it sounds like a convenience feature thing, but it really is. It really is very nice that I can get a lot of what makes the E4s very cool without having to. Oh no, fell off.
You lose.
Without having to put on a giant set of headphones. So yeah, big thumbs up for the LCD i4 from me. It might be time.
Ready.
Again, if you guys have not heard the news, the Vinyl Me Please thing is very cool. Definitely check that out. The new firmware update has been released this week, and we have also had a update to the Penrose shipping and things like that. So check that out. Wow, I'm getting absolutely destroyed. Yes, yeah, I really appreciate the ability to use the lightning cable as well. That's one of the features that for me actually is most... that's how you do that. Okay, cool. Well, yes, yeah, I mean, I have amps and things like that in my studio. I use them and enjoy them quite a bit. But one of the things I do appreciate about that is the lightning cable, and there's an equalization that you can mess with on there. So if you want to tune the sound, really easy to do that. As I mentioned before, I just get a lot of head time with them and find them. You can get so much sound out of them without needing to plug in a huge amp or carry around one of those large DAPs or something like that. So definitely a big fan of those. I think most of the i-series ones use lightning cables. So for those of you who are not familiar with this game, it's called Fight Crab. It's incredibly silly. The soundtrack is actually quite good. And interestingly enough, for those of you who are into video game music, I've noticed that the Steam has recently started allowing folks to purchase the soundtrack two games separately through the Steam platform. Something that I think is very cool and definitely is a great way to support the creators of games, composers, things like that we all enjoy. I signed Tony with a lightning cable, didn't play the EQ. I personally don't think so. There is EQ built into the lightning cable. I don't know all the specific details of exactly what that EQ is, but I know there is some EQ built into it. If you want to, you can download the Audeze HQ app on the App Store, and that app will allow you to play with the EQ on the lightning cable. That is a different app actually than at the moment it doesn't support Penrose, but we're going to add Penrose support for that. But that is the app that you'll use to play with the EQ on any of the Cypher cable, Cypher lightning cable headphones. I think sometimes it's nice to be able to play with the EQ because our ears are, based on what we're listening to, they are actually giving us something very different. So sometimes I find that I like to have a little more bass, or I like to, hear a little bit more of certain frequencies. Like sometimes, depending on the music I'm listening to, I just really want to hear stuff with a bit more bass punch. And so turning up the bass in the EQ as sort of a temporary setting is very helpful. And then at other times, I want to hear, the clarity of the high range, things like that. Or, if there's specific songs that I'm listening to, I sometimes find EQ can benefit them. Some songs that are older, for example, sound quite bright on digital systems. One of the reasons for that being that back in the old analog days, when they were mixing records that they knew would be eventually mastered to vinyl, they
You lose.
Nice, awesome. Yeah, I really enjoy the app as well. One of the reasons that that older records sometimes sound a bit thin and bright is bad digital transfers can be one of them, but also mix engineers were taught to add a little bit of high end at every stage of the mixing process, because vinyl and all the analog processing would actually scrub off a little bit of high end. So for records from the 60s, 70s, and into the early 80s, you would have a lot of them that digitally sound a little bit bass light, because the digital transfers didn't take that into account, and limiting also kills some of the frequencies that were typically allowed through. Some of the peak energy frequencies are allowed through, so they're not quite as punchy and not quite as bassy as they were, and EQ can actually be a very helpful tool, because vinyl has a 50 hertz a bump, and then tape, tape of course also has a head bump, so extra bass can be a handy thing to apply. Or if it's too bright, some old records can sound a bit tinny. It can be helpful to take down some high range.
You win. Fight. Go.
let me pull up here the update from let's see. Audeze Penrose update. Yes, so orders placed before 12/7 should all be shipped in time to arrive before Christmas, pending any unforeseen delays in transit. So the other bit of news, this is straight from the newsletter again, if you haven't read that. Oh, thank you, Marion. I really appreciate it. We're doing our best to try and be on top of things and communicate to all of you as quickly as we can new information. I'm not, the head tech designer, so I'm afraid that certain things I might have to ask for help on answering questions. And I'm not the production team either, but we'll try to answer your questions on these Twitch streams as often as we can, which, by the way, are every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard. Usually Jaren, who is our marketing kind of person, head marketing person, will join us for that. And we'll both be answering questions and co-streaming. And then on Fridays is usually my stream at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard. And it's a bit of a mixed bag. Sometimes we'll do production. We were doing a movie soundtrack mix that I did this week. So we took a look at that, talked about some strategies and production tips, and then also obviously gaming, things like that, and Q&A always is part of our shtick here. So have you updated your Penrose to the latest firmware? So we have an update that should allow you to control the Windows audio from the desktop. Generally, it's a good idea to pick either just digital or just analog, and generally analog volume control is more transparent than digital. However, we did add this feature because people requested it, and so if you have the latest firmware, you should be able to adjust the Windows volume control digitally.
You win.
According to the newsletter update also, we expect our next shipment of Penrose X and Penrose headphones, obviously after these Penrose X have shipped, to be sometime in mid-January. So after these ones go out to all the backers and people who ordered before December 7th, we should have our next shipment sometime in mid-January. So unfortunately, I know Apogee, I was talking to one of the folks over at Apogee, they've been slammed, a lot of people have been slammed. So we're working our hardest to get the units out to people who ordered before December 7th, and then after that it's going to be about mid-January before we'll have our next shipment. Uh-oh. Ooh, we broke the game. Later effect here, not unexpected. I don't know why this guy's flying. I was utterly outclassed by, what is this? It's like a spider crab or something, maybe? Wow. For those who may not seen it, for those of you who may not have seen it, wow. The link to the Audeze HQ app is further up in the chat. I can drop it in again if anyone needs it. And as usual, feel free to ask questions or things like that. Happy to talk about headphones or not headphones. If you have other questions, we'll do our best to answer those. Can't promise to be an expert. Wow. Uh-oh. I think
You lose.
we got. All right, time to go back to the drawing board. And new items. Yes, please. It's the most expensive thing we can buy. Warhammer. Oh, lance. Yeah. Yes. This is the one I want. And we'll give the lobster the shield and the gun, just because I think it's funny. Apparently at a certain point, excuse me, you can get mopeds and seals and lightsabers for your crabs. So you can get mopeds and seals that your crab rides on. Would there ever be a wireless Audeze Mobius, like head tracking, but wireless? Is that technically available yet? So do you mean? Yeah, I think you mean wireless, like the Penrose with the Wi-Fi wireless. I'm not sure about that. One of the limitations of the wireless with the Penrose is, of course, latency, and the processing to do head tracking, as far as I understand, does add some latency. Now, it is possible that we may have something like that available. I am not sure, but that's certainly something we can look into. The issue always with anything wireless is making sure that you have good fidelity and resolution via the wireless. I'm totally stuck. Via the wireless mode. There we go. My God, he's got a chainsaw. So I'm not sure about that, but it's certainly something we could look into in the future. This. I thought my new Nodachi was really cool. This guy has a chainsaw. How often do I have these live streams? So, as I mentioned before, every Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I will be live streaming either gaming or pro audio stuff and answering questions. And then every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time, Jaren, who is the, head of marketing or marketing person, and I will both be on live streaming, usually gaming content and answering questions. So 1 p.m. Wednesday Pacific and 3 p.m. Friday Pacific. How does Dolby Atmos work on Penrose X? So the Penrose is essentially 2-channel headset, and any Dolby Atmos processing is pretty much always done in the game or in the hardware source. So if it's an Xbox, for example, they have the Dolby processing built into the Xbox. So as long as you enable that and set the Dolby processing to the Dolby headphone mode, it should work just fine with any of the Penrose units. So Penrose is fully Dolby compliant in terms of using Dolby headphone modes. Personally, I think the Dolby headphone modes sound really good and work really, really well with the Penrose. I was just testing one of them the other day, actually, with our test Xbox Series X unit that we have. And it worked great. It sounded really good. It was very spacious sounding, and Overwatch is one game actually that I think sounds quite good with the Dolby processing. So that's definitely one that I would recommend checking out if you wanted to see how Dolby Atmos processing works. And again, when you set it to the Dolby Atmos for headphones, it should work with any 2-channel headphone. So Penrose is no different, and it will work great with any of those. I actually found out a cool feature while I was testing the Xbox Series X with Penrose, is that not only can you connect multiple Penrose units to the Xbox, you can also actually assign the different controllers and headsets, any accessories on the Xbox, and those different assignments can be assigned to guest profiles. So I believe, I needed to test this more extensively, but I believe that if you set it up correctly, you can actually have the Penrose headsets assigned to different guest profiles, and if you're playing split screen co-op of some kind, you would be able to have each person hear whatever was on their screen, just like you can assign different controllers. So that's a cool function of the new Xbox. Again, I have to double check that that's exactly how it works with the Penrose, but I believe that it is, because you can assign the different accessories to guest profiles or other profiles signed into the same Xbox. So pretty handy function in terms of managing the accessories there. And the Dolby Atmos processing is available, of course, also on Windows if you're a PC user, and there might even be a Mac app version. So if you have a Penrose unit and you want to use Dolby Atmos, any software that uses Dolby Atmos and does the software processing will work with Penrose. No problem.
Ready.
Yeah, absolutely. Here to answer your guys' questions and flub English. And wonder why the camera is so crazy in this game. I've always thought games needed a bit of an adulting button, especially Assassin's Creed games, where you press it and it says, alright, here's a 30-second update on the story, what the heck's going on, here's a quick refresh on the controls, and that kind of stuff, just for those of us who are, you know, like, I have a real adult life. I actually work, I can't just play games for 8 hours a day, like, well, even kids are busy now. But yeah, well, I hope, did you say you had ordered a pair? Let me see. Can't wait to try them. Awesome. Well, if you have a pair on order, I hope they get to you soon. If you've already got them, I hope you're enjoying them. And we're working hard, as I mentioned before, to try and, you know, bring you guys a great audio experience for your gaming. I've been using Penrose previously, and they're an excellent gaming headset. The tuning is really good. They sound great for gaming, very clear. I've been very much enjoying them and using them, and that's not just a sales pitch or anything like that. I'm not on the sales team. I don't do anything with sales. I just legitimately do enjoy using them, and I found that they're really good for gaming. And the convenience of wireless is quite cool. So it actually has to do with licensing from Microsoft. So Microsoft requires licensing and an extensive certification process, and only specific hardware will work with the Xbox because of that. So the reasoning is that we have to do basically extensive sort of Microsoft specific licensing and testing and certification to get Xbox compatibility. So that's the reason for that. It's not any sort of nefarious exclusivity things on our part. That's just what Microsoft requires. Live in Norway and ordered them. Awesome. Well, yeah, I hope they arrive to you very quickly. I'm not sure what the status of international... Oh my. I'm not sure what the status of international orders is. Let me see if the newsletter has any updates on that. So we have shipped a number of Penrose units, although I think those may be PlayStation Penrose to dealers and international distributors. So I would, if you've ordered them from one of those folks, check with them. If you've ordered them direct from us, you can check with our production team and see, you know, if there is some update on that. From our production team or our support team. Oh no. So, and please feel free to let us know how you like them when you get them on our, you know, social media or Amazon or other places like that. Or if there's feedback that you have that something needs to get fixed, things like that, also definitely be sure to let us know. We want to know if there's bugs or other stuff like that that we can address, so that you guys can have the best experience possible with your headphones. Surprised nobody has asked about the about the AirPod Max. Yeah, I think actually our CEO Sankar may have ordered a pair of those. So I think we're getting a test pair of those in soon, so we'll see. They're quite interesting headphones. Since Penrose X are so delayed, will they come with the latest firmware already on them? I believe so. I will double check that for you and either put something up on social or put something out next week either on the stream or let the newsletter team know. Well, newsletter team, it's one person. I will let the person who does the newsletter know, and we will be sure to push out an update regarding that question. But I'm almost certain, I'm like 99% certain that they will come with the latest firmware updated on them. Most of the firmware updates are things that pertain to the PlayStation version of Penrose. But if there's anything that does not, again, newsletter, social channels, and the stream, I will make sure to push out an answer to that. But I'm almost certain that it will be the newest firmware on the Penrose X that gets delivered to people. Bluetooth never reaches the level of latency as wireless dongle. So that's an interesting one because so Bluetooth is a codec, right? And the Bluetooth codec is limited by the fact that there needs to be processing built into whatever is doing the Bluetooth decoding and encoding on each side of the equation. So say you're using Bluetooth to your phone. Your phone has to have Bluetooth encoding and decoding built into it, and whatever device, say your headphones you're using, has to also have a Bluetooth encoder and decoder built into it. So there's a lot of complexity on that front for that reason. Now, is it possible? Maybe. The thing about wireless that makes it easier to get lower latencies is because you can use proprietary connectors. So the Penrose uses a dongle. That's because it's essentially a tiny Wi-Fi box, right? It emits a 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi signal. And that means that the latency is not so much of an issue because you're not worrying about the encoding and decoding sucking up bandwidth in the process. The more processing you do, the more samples of latency you have to take. So when you take that many samples of latency, you add milliseconds to the amount of time that the device takes to process it. So the problem with Bluetooth, again, is not so much necessarily the transmission method as it is the fact that it is a process that to use on universal controllers, you have to make, and by universal controllers I mean like a phone, you have to basically add processing for that codec to work. Now, something that is promising is maybe using Wi-Fi connections or other wireless capability to have low latency wireless connection. That's something that is certainly possible in the future, and you know, the Bluetooth standard may transform and become something that is you know, more hardware accelerated or something like that. So it's not inconceivable that Bluetooth will come down in latency. I think it certainly will. But Bluetooth for now, I don't think is necessarily going to be anywhere close for the foreseeable future to the latency of a true wireless, you know, USB Wi-Fi dongle. The other consideration is that something like the Mobius over Bluetooth obviously is not close to using Bluetooth for low latency wireless because it's also doing processing on top of that Bluetooth processing that's going on, right? The other cool thing about wireless is that you have more effective bandwidth to work with because the chip that's doing the processing is not also doing the transmission. So instead of having, you know, transmission, encoding, compression, decoding, all that, you have a wireless dongle which does only the processing and transmission that you tell it to do. So it's a more effective method of, my crab's like all derpy. I don't know why he's gone all derpy. It's a more effective method of transmission. So possible that Bluetooth could catch up to wireless low latency, but probably not going to happen soon, based on my understanding of it at least. There might be people who are DSP, smarter DSP coders than I am, who can speak to that more intelligently. Turn around. For those of you wondering, this game kind of controls like a broken laundry machine from the 1950s. It's just better than you expected, but still kind of leaves your underpants soiled. Yeah, so I think, I don't know if you saw the Marquess Brownlee video on them, but I haven't listened to them yet. I think, like I said, our CEO ordered a pair just because he's always curious and interested in whatever's going on. Air support, heck yeah. What on God's green earth? This game is so ridiculous. So I haven't heard them yet. We've got, I think, a pair, like I said, a pair on order that should be coming next week. But they are very expensive. Now, they do some interesting things. There's a spatial audio thing. I don't know exactly what Apple is using for their spatial audio implementation or how they're doing it. They've got dual wireless chips, which is obviously very expensive to implement. And they also have, a lot of expensive implementations of, the technology that does exist elsewhere. But they are quite pricey. Now, As for if they actually live up to the sound quality, I don't know. I think there's a lot of tech built into it, and the more tech you build into things, the harder it is to spend money on the drivers and the sound quality. That's just a fact of manufacturing. So we'll see what they sound like. I think the case is a little bit silly. I'm not really sure why they made that decision to go with a case like that. It's Apple. Who knows why Apple does anything. Well, we do too. And thank you to folks like you who are, supporters of our brand. We really appreciate that. Interestingly enough, Steve Jobs was actually a big audiophile. And a friend of mine who works at another, I think VR, they do VR software. He was telling me that if you're familiar with, you can buy an Anchor. Not Martin Logan, but Mark Levinson, and a guy named Vinny, who used to run Red Wine Audio in New York, helped set up the first audio testing lab with Apple. And that was 1990s, I want to say. The case looks like a bra. That's funny. Yeah, it does kind of look like a bra. It's just an odd choice to me. It's not particularly protective. It's not really... it wouldn't be my first choice for a case design, I'll say that much. Yeah, and Marquez, he's not necessarily... I mean, he has, yes, a pair of HD820s. I don't know if he's like a really hardcore audiophile. He seems to know a little bit. But yeah, even he seems, skeptical of the AirPod Max, and he didn't speak necessarily to the sound quality that much, which kind of puzzled me. So that's something that I'll be interested in his full review to see if he mentions that more. It's something that is, and we run into this problem too. It's hard to talk about sound quality, right? You can't just tell people that something sounds amazing a million times. There's some fatigue that goes along with that, right? There's only so many times you can say something sounds amazing before a customer really kind of just has to get ears on it for themselves. So I understand that there's some difficulty in talking about it. And then, of course, there is a large crowd on Reddit that is very much of the opinion that sound quality is kind of, it's good or bad, and that's it. And that's the extent of it. We don't necessarily agree with that, but the only people who generally have a lexicon around that are high-end hi-fi reviewers or headfires, and that can be confusing and is kind of it's a different language, right? And it's also when people start talking about $5,000 DAC amps or $4,000 headphones, which are very expensive, that turns some people off. So it's complicated. I would be interested to see if anybody does talk about the AirPods Max in terms of the sound quality and how well they actually sound, because they claim to also have an auto EQ function where they sort of EQ themselves to your own personal ear profile, almost like a little mini HRTF generator type thing. So it'll be interesting to see if anyone comments on that. I need my chainsaw back. The button on the pencil can be compressed above the switch between audio feeds, but currently it doesn't do anything. So I'm not sure which review you're reading or where that was, but at the moment, my understanding. Oh wow, what is happening? At the moment, the multifunction button on the Penrose, which is in the same places where the 3D audio button was. You can press to switch between Bluetooth, aux, and wireless mode. So that button does work. It's worked since the Penrose is launched. What is this button? Switch between audio feeds. No, yeah. If that's the button you're talking about, I may be misinterpreting, but that button should switch between Bluetooth, the wired and wireless modes, and it should work. No problem. Oh, I'm sorry. The audio on this game is quite loud. Let me turn it down. There we go. That should be. There we go. Is that better? So just to repeat what I said in case you didn't hear me, sorry about that. The Penrose should have a multifunction button, which is essentially a small button on the front of the ear cup that allows you to switch between the Bluetooth, aux, and wireless modes. That should work. It's worked since the beginning of the development cycle. The very first units had that, so it should work just fine, and there shouldn't be any problem using it. I think my game may be a little bit broken at the moment. None of my buttons seem to be doing anything. Yeah, you're welcome. Absolutely. I think I'm not sure how this game is still a little janky. We've got some Goat Simulator vibes going on. Currently, none of my attack buttons seem to be working. None of my hyper mode buttons are working either. There we go. Okay. Not sure why that happened. Going back to a previous topic, the Audeze, or no, the Apple headphones are supposed to have a sort of auto EQ profiling of your ear that they're supposed to do. I think the last major headphones, kind of higher end headphones that I remember doing that, were a headphone that AKG released that was branded with, I want to say Quincy Jones, and they were active noise canceling, kind of a high end, they were gold, I believe, and I don't remember if those also had a thing where they would measure your ear using a microphone in the ear cup, and then basically create not an HRTF profile, but sort of an ear EQ profile. Those ones, I don't know how well they sold. If they sold a lot of them, they were, I want to say $1,500 or something, somewhere in that range. But those are the last ones that I remember doing something similar. So, as I mentioned, I am interested in if... Oh, I'm not a run on walls. Yes. I am interested to see if that's... better on Bluetooth, aux, or wireless modes. The sound quality may be slightly different on the wireless. Sound quality may be slightly different between the wireless and aux modes and the Bluetooth. I mean, there may be slight differences in sound quality between aux and wireless, but the wireless will transmit full 1644 audio, and to me sounds quite good. Oh, okay, interesting. This is all right. So the Bluetooth obviously is a more compressed codec. It's not full 1644 lossless. It is a lossy codec, so Bluetooth will probably sound a little bit worse, but aux and wired mode should sound both excellent. Marlin, for casual Bluetooth earbuds, what you recommend? I think I don't really have as much experience with those as some people do. I know if you're looking for true wireless, I mean, I know a lot of people use AirPods and like them. I think my roommate uses some Jabra or maybe Sony ones that he seems to like that have really good isolation. He can never hear me when I'm yelling at him to clean up his dishes. So not necessarily as hugely experienced with those. I did hear good things about the Sennheiser True Wireless. I think they were Momentums. So those may be of interest to you to check out if you're looking for a, true wireless solution. I tend to use, I tend to forget to charge things sometimes, so I'm not the best person to ask about that. Let's see. OS X app will be updated for Penrose. I do not. My understanding, though, has been that the Mac OS app update will be following the Android update. We just pushed out the new Windows app update for Audeze HQ, and so the Android update is supposed to follow after that. That's my understanding. So the Android, like I said, Android 1 should be next, and then after that, the Mac one is queued up. We're having our software dev team work as quickly as possible to try and address that. But that's the order as I understand it. Fly, oh my gosh. Am I right to think that update? I need that update for firmware. Yes, that includes the firmware update. So the updates to the Audeze HQ app include firmware updates as well as, I believe, some functionality. But yes, you will need that to do the firmware update. Absolutely, Ubercore. Wire suit wasn't headphone. Got rid of the headphone jack. Yeah, that was an interesting decision. I mean, at the end of the day, to me, the problem with the lightning cable is that it's not very reliable. I have this problem actually in my car a lot, as stupid as this sounds, that I find the lightning cable very unreliable, and so I keep having to. My car is an older car that uses an aux input for the ancient. I know uses a aux input for the audio, and I have to use a lightning adapter, and it just doesn't work well. Oh, that's how you change the camera direction. Okay. So yeah, if the lightning cable had been a more reliable format, or had offered some other advantage, I think I would have been okay with it. But as it is, buying expensive accessories seems to be the business model now for Apple, and I just want to play some background music in my car through an aux cable. So yeah, I'm definitely with you on that one, Marlon. It's not my favorite. Apparently I didn't do these tutorials. I thought I did. The control scheme with this game is arcane. Also getting some sort of fun texture padding. I think it's the ropes in the background. Not sure why the devs decided to make those see-through instead of just masking them out when the camera gets behind them, but here we are. Okay. Acquired character, which... Snow crab. Well, let's buy him. Okay. Now we have the snow crab. Wait, I already had the snow crab. Okay. We're gonna sell him. Let's see if we can beat this guy now. Spider crab. Wow. That is positively vertigo-inducing. We'll just run up and hit him with our chainsaw. So you can fly when you're in hyper mode. Useful thing I learned. Not really sure what happened there, to be completely honest with you guys. Enchant. Stronger or not. Back. Cool. Excellent. I think we might have enough to buy the lightsaber. Beam saber. Oh, yes. Oh, there's a double saber, too. Should we save up and buy Excalibur? Or, no, we should get the lightsaber. Perfect. Planar magnetic drivers better sounding compared to dynamic ones. So it depends. I mean, there's different benefits and downsides to all choices. Generally, planar magnetic drivers have some really big upsides in terms of sound quality because the wave front of a planar magnetic driver is hitting your ear like a planar wavefront, and that doesn't have to do with planar magnetic. It has to do with how sound waves are generated. But having a planar wavefront hit your ear has some proven benefits with regard to how we localize sound. Planar magnetic drivers also have some benefits in terms of how well they are able to maintain frequency and distortion profiles. It is easier to get a planar magnetic driver to have pretty low distortion numbers and to make sure that it retains a relatively flat frequency response profile. They also have very stable impedances so that you don't have to have an amp which needs to deal with varying frequency impedance based on frequency. So one of the reasons dynamic drivers do not generally have as flat a sound profile is because the impedance of the driver varies based on the frequency. So bass signals are often harder to drive than treble signals, which leads to peaks and dips in the frequency response. So that's a big benefit. Planar magnetic drivers have some other cool benefits. However, one of the big downsides is they're more difficult to make. How does my lightsabers? It doesn't work now. I don't know what happened. So planar magnetic drivers are more difficult to make. There's a lot that goes into tensioning the diaphragm, which is essentially a really thin film. A lot of people use mylar. There are other materials that you can use as well. And then getting the trace to be deposited evenly, building the voice coils and the magnets. The magnet structure is much more complex and difficult to create than for a dynamic driver. The voice coils have to be either printed, vapor deposited, or otherwise basically flat cast. It's quite an involved process. We have a very proprietary process that we use at Audeze that makes it a bit, easier for us to do this, but it is still quite a complicated industrial process. So that's, kind of some of the pros and cons. Again, a dynamic driver is easier to make for a lower cost at scale than a planar magnetic driver, whereas the planar magnetic driver has advantages when it comes to constant impedance over frequency response, and also with frequency response and distortion profiles. So again, it really depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to build, a very inexpensive headphone for the mass market, a dynamic driver is great because they're cheap and they're easy to get, and they'll do, as the British say, what they say, what it says on the tin, does what it says on the tin. So it will it'll make sound, and you can even get relatively decent sound with a dynamic driver. It's not that dynamic drivers are bad or inherently flawed. It's just that a planar magnetic driver has some distinct advantages in that arena. Though again, at the cost of an increased cost to manufacture and increased level of complexity. Another advantage of I cannot talk today. Wow. Another advantage of planar magnetic drivers is that they are able to be produced at larger sizes than comparable dynamic drivers. And this is generally a really good thing because it means that you can have more bass and greater sense of dynamic and scale and greater impact. So it also helps with imaging. Generally, the larger a driver is, the better its bass response will be, the flatter its low frequency response will be. And this, of course, is, a desirable thing in a high-end headphone. So planar magnetic drivers do not take up as much space in terms of the way that they're built, because they're, flat kind of panels with magnets either on either side or on one side. And that helps to lower the amount of space that they need for, not like dynamic drivers where you have to put the magnet behind the cone and it sort of sticks out a bit. So there's some space reasons, and then the magnet has to get quite big also for dynamic drivers sometimes, and it does for planar magnetic drivers too, although there's some things you can do to mitigate it, again, because it is flat rather than a bit of a cone like a dynamic driver. So that's another thing that helps it make planar magnetic drivers easier to or more generally to have better bass response, flatter frequency response. What on earth is going on here? It's a lobster with a harpoon. Is this a mantis? I think this is a mantis shrimp. That's spooky. Also, if you guys didn't know, that's what they actually look like, mantis shrimp. That is, in fact, their true form, as spooky as they are. Yeah, thank you for tuning in, Marlon. Oh, I appreciate it. I mean, definitely if you like the content, I will be starting up my own personal streaming channel again. Not to plug it on work stuff, but I'm glad you appreciate it. Definitely check out our other streams. Today is a little bit of light information and news day, but I'm glad you enjoyed it, and definitely tune in for more. We'll have more interesting and fun stuff for you guys as we go along. Thank you. So I think after we beat this one last mantis shrimp, we are going to end the stream. So if you guys have any last burning questions I can answer for you, let me know. As a recap, for anyone who might be here who was not here at the beginning, the big update is concerning Penrose X. We have basically units should be shipping out next week, granted no additional shipping delays. Everyone who ordered before 12/7. I remember crying by how beautiful sounding a headphone was. I've definitely had experiences with my stereo system that were very emotional, especially if I was in the right headspace. I grew up in kind of an audiophile-oriented household, so, you know, having an emotional response to music on equipment was not, you know, foreign to me. I don't know that I've ever cried when I, like, heard a headset that was, like, you know, just hearing the headset. For me, you know, the emphasis is on the music and the musical experience. I think it's very much possible if a headset were to sound just particularly spectacular and I was in the right mood and it was playing a song that, like, meant a lot to me and I was in, you know, the headspace to listen to that song. Yeah, I can imagine it would happen. I don't remember a specific moment that's happened for me, but I don't think it's weird. I definitely know a lot of audiophiles who, like, you know, the experience of their system or some piece of gear and on a particular piece of music. That's the other thing too, is a particular piece of music really got them. So I don't think it's unusual at all. I can't say, again, off the top of my head, a specific experience I remember with it, but yeah, I would say I have emotional reactions when I'm really sitting down and listening to stuff. So hopefully that answers your question. I think that's about good. We've got about an hour and a half, some questions answered. We're going to go, what's the opposite of live on the stream? Not dead, but anyways. We're going to end the stream here, guys. If you want to, stick around. We'll be restreaming Torva's stream, which he does every day at 5 o'clock. Really good Call of Duty player. Absolutely. Thank you for stopping by and watching the whole stream. I really appreciate it, especially watching me play this ridiculous game. I didn't know what I was going to do today on stream, so I appreciate you guys bearing with me as I played this kind of janky, silly game. And have a great day as well. So anyways, like I said, 5 o'clock, Torva will be streaming. We'll be restreaming it on our channel. If you want to stick around and watch that, he is a really excellent player. I think we've got a Twitch highlights reel of his coming out soon. And again, if you have any questions, please get in touch with us. Keep up with our social if you want to know the latest news on everything. And I hope you all have a fantastic weekend.